bodies were absolutely partially mummified. Really gruesome scene that police ended up coming upon at the house, at the residence.
Gene Hackman's daughter has finally opened up about the actor's mysterious passing, and instead of getting answers, there's now only more questions, and it's looking more and more suspicious.
I wouldn't say odd, but it's not normal to find two people deceased in a residence. That's concerning. And then there was also a dog that was in a kennel that was also found deceased.
You guys, this story just keeps getting weirder. So as we know, Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy were found dead in their New Mexico home. But what no one else is telling you is that Gene wasn't just a great actor. He was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor, and he owned an island right next door to Oprah Winfrey's private island in British Columbia. Now his daughter has finally spoken out, but she hasn't even been to the scene and says she won't go until police finish their investigation. So what's really going on here?
Ensure the safety of the two surviving dogs. Investigation personnel worked diligently throughout the night.
Before we get into the insanely bizarre speech from their daughter, let me take you back to the crime scene. The legendary 95-year-old actor and his wife Betsy were discovered dead in separate rooms of their Santa Fe home.
All I can say is they have been deceased for quite a while.
One of their 3 dogs was also found dead, while the others miraculously survived. At first, everyone thought it's a tragic passing due to natural causes, but Hackman's daughter Leslie has a different theory: carbon monoxide poisoning. There's just one problem with that though. Investigators have found no evidence of a carbon monoxide leak.
Individuals tested negative for carbon monoxide.
Hear that? Strangely enough, Leslie is still sticking to her theory, even though she hasn't been to the house or the state of New Mexico at all since her father's passing. She insists she won't go until police complete their investigation, which could take months. That alone is pretty strange, no? If your parents pass away, you go to them, period. I mean, if it's just about grief, why the absolute refusal to even visit? Now, this isn't the only out-of-pocket thing Leslie has done. The shocking interview. Instead of speaking to local authorities or personally investigating, Leslie gave an exclusive interview to the Daily Mail, one of the biggest tabloids out there, known for paying for stories. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it does make people wonder, is this getting ahead of the narrative? Being in control of the story that gets told? She claims that despite being 95, her father was in excellent health.
There's no indication that there was any stress. There was no indication of any of that.
He did Pilates and yoga multiple times a week and hadn't had any major surgeries. Her statement raises even more questions because while this wasn't shocking due to his age, the fact that both he and his wife passed at the same time with no clear cause is what makes this case so mysterious. Could there be more to the story than she's letting on? It turns out there is. There is news that Gene Hackman was about to expose Epstein's pedophile list before he passed away under what's looking more and more to be possible foul play. Apparently, he wasn't playing nice with the elite anymore. Word is he was sick to death of the Epstein client list cover-up. He reportedly told friends he was done watching the deep state and rogue FBI agents shred the truth, and he was allegedly ready to talk, ready to burn it all down. Could this have been the real cause of death? Possible, but there are more bizarre details to this case. Leslie claims she had a strong bond with her father, but at the same time, she admitted that she hadn't spoken to him in months. That's, okay, weird. Girl needs to get her story straight. Until then, it makes you wonder what the real nature of their relationship is. Why had no family member or friend checked on them in 2 weeks? Gene's nephew, Tim Hackman, also spoke out and said he found out about the deaths through Leslie. He hadn't seen Gene in over a decade, only keeping in touch through Betsy. Tim also mentioned that Betsy was the one truly taking care of Gene in his final years, crediting her for his long life. That's important because it means the family isn't pointing fingers at Betsy. If anything, they believe she was devoted to Gene's well-being. So if there were no obvious family rifts, why hasn't Leslie gone to New Mexico? That's the biggest question in all of this. Why hasn't Leslie traveled to New Mexico? Wouldn't she want to see the house, gather personal belongings, or at the very least be there to identify the bodies? Most families rush to their loved one's side after a sudden death, especially when there's no clear cause. But Leslie is waiting until the police finish their work. That's odd. Wouldn't she want to see the place for herself, talk to investigators in person, or just pay her respects? Of course, grief affects people differently, but it's still something people are questioning. Could it be because she already knows what happened? Because here are some strange details that don't add up. There are a few things about this case that just don't sit right. Betsy's body showed signs of mummification. According to law enforcement, her hands and feet were in a state of decomposition, suggesting she had been deceased for quite some time before being discovered.
Right now, the best clue into when Hackman died is his pacemaker, which the sheriff says last showed activity on February 17th, nearly 10 days before the couple was found.
According to the pathologist, I think that is a very good assumption that was his last day of life.
On top of this, a neighbor had alerted authorities for a welfare check after not seeing or hearing from the couple for some time. When the police arrived at the house in a gated community, they found the front door open, but there was no sign of forced entry. Yet what they found inside painted a disturbing picture.
Garage locked, the door ajar, nothing stolen, nothing ransacked, nothing rummaged through, no items taken. Everything appeared in place. What does it mean?
There's also the fact that Gene and Betsy were found in separate rooms, which is super weird. If it was a natural passing, why weren't they together? And what about the dog that died? What caused that? If it was carbon monoxide, why the heck are there no traces of it in the home? Another really strange detail is how quickly Leslie was willing to push her theory, despite there being no proof. Most people would wait for an official toxicology report before making a statement like that, but she immediately jumped to conclusions, making people wonder if she's trying to control the narrative before the truth comes out. Here's what the sheriff had to say when asked if carbon monoxide can be a possible cause of death.
But, on our experience and working on cases like this, that is a possibility. Because of that, we called in the fire department, we called in P&M to go through the house, do some testing to figure out if it was even safe for our officers to go in and process the scene and execute the warrant.
Then there's the fact that Leslie didn't even call emergency responders. Instead, the police were notified by a third party. Why wouldn't she be the first to check in on her father? When police found Hackman's wife, Betsy, she was in the bathroom, lying on the floor near a countertop. There was an open bottle of pills nearby, with some of them scattered around.
Do you believe it may be possible that that prescription could be related in any way to the deaths that we've seen here?
That's obviously very important evidence. We're looking at that specifically, and other medications, of course, that were in the possibly in the residence. So that is something of concern.
The deputy also noticed a space heater next to her head. They think that if Betsy had suddenly fallen, the heater might have tipped over, which could have caused her body to decompose faster. Hackman was found in a room that looked like a mudroom, fully dressed with his sunglasses next to him. Authorities believe he might have suddenly fallen too, but since his body was in better shape than Betsy's, it looks like he passed away more recently than she did. There was also a German Shepherd found locked inside a bathroom closet, which obviously makes the situation even stranger.
Everyone in the house, including the dog, is deceased.
But the weirdest part, as mentioned earlier, is the two other dogs that were found alive in the house. So the big questions are, how did the two dogs survive while one didn't? Something just didn't add up, and here's what some people are suggesting. It could be she was sick and collapsed and he fell trying to get to her. Who knows how much she was helping him get around at his age. It's hard getting old, getting a virus can turn into pneumonia. All kinds of falls and crazy situations can happen. Aging is not for the faint of heart. May they RIP. I had wondered if he found his wife and was hurrying to get help, but fell. He was 95. A fall would be very serious, and if the dog just happened to be in a kennel when it happened, could have died of thirst. They said he looked like he fell. It's so sad. True, it is quite heartbreaking, especially what investigators are saying. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office has been tight-lipped, not releasing too much.
I think I just answered that question. I think I stated I'm not going to release the actual medication or who it was prescribed to due to HIPAA.
There's no official cause of death yet, but no evidence points to carbon monoxide poisoning so far. Toxicology reports could take weeks or even months to come back, meaning the real cause of death remains a mystery for now. But one of the biggest theories Leslie put forward was that toxic fumes were to blame. However, law enforcement has repeatedly debunked this claim. Firefighters who responded to the scene reported finding no evidence of a carbon monoxide leak. On top of this, the New Mexico Gas Company conducted a thorough inspection of the house's gas lines and confirmed that there were no issues. This means that whatever happened to Gene and Betsy was not the result of a gas-related accident. The Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office has now labeled the deaths as suspicious, warranting a full investigation. A search warrant was obtained to comb through the house and gather evidence. Authorities stated in an affidavit, the death of the two deceased individuals is suspicious enough in nature to require a thorough search and investigation. While investigators haven't ruled out anything, they also haven't suggested foul play.
I did state was there was no obvious sign or indication of a foul play. There was no immediate sign of foul play.
So what happens next? With the investigation still ongoing, autopsy results are what will really give us their real cause of death. As the sheriff said,
I think the autopsy is going to tell us a lot, and any evidence that we collect.
Investigators are also looking into the medical records of both Gene and Betsy. If either had pre-existing conditions that could explain their sudden passing, it would help bring clarity to the case. Toxicology reports are also expected to take several weeks, but they could reveal whether drugs or other substances were a factor. For now, all anyone can do is wait. Funeral arrangements, estate matters, and the ongoing investigation will continue to unfold in the coming weeks. Many Hollywood stars have come forward to pay tribute to Hackman. Clint Eastwood, who starred alongside him in Unforgiven, said there was no finer actor than Gene. Intense and instinctive, never a false note. Morgan Freeman, who worked with Hackman on Under Suspicion, shared his condolences on Insta. I was incredibly fortunate to witness Gene's grace and generosity firsthand. He would often take me aside to share invaluable insights on my role as producer. Lessons I still use to this day. R.I.P. Gene. You will be missed, but always remembered. Even younger actors have spoken out, expressing admiration for Hackman's legacy. Some have noted that his films, from The French Connection to The Royal Tenenbaums, defined entire generations of cinema. Fans across the world are also paying tribute, sharing their favorite moments and performances from Hackman's extensive career. I'm so sad. This actor was so unique in the way he let emotions come through him. His gaze, his quiet demeanor, and yet he exuded strength. I'm off today and it's snowing, so I'll watch his movies. Gene Hackman was an incredible actor. Popeye Doyle always comes to mind from The French Connection. Such a talented man. My sincere condolences. Hackman's family released a joint statement saying, he was loved and admired by millions around the world for his brilliant acting career. But to us, he was always just dad and grandpa. We will miss him sorely and are devastated by the loss.
Based on what you know about the conditions of both the bodies, who do you believe died first?
That's a very hard thing to determine. That's a question that we want answered.
The coming weeks will hopefully bring more clarity to this heartbreaking case. Until then, we'll keep wondering if Betsy passed away first, leading to Gene's death from natural causes or distress, or did Gene die first and Betsy overdosed on medication in response? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you want to stay in the loop with everything celebrity related, hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch this next video because you're going to love it.